in this video, I race in automatic gears and a little bit of carnage out the old hairpin. Hello everyone, and welcome to a slightly different video, which, if you haven't guessed by the thumbnail, is all about driving in automatic. So I was challenged in my manual versus automatic video in the comments to actually race in automatic. Now, I've not done that in Gran Turismo 7. You can see that right there. Yes, it's auto. So we're letting the game change the gears for us. Now, many people will go, oh, this is so much slower. What are you doing, Tidge? You're going to come last. Well, let's find out. I did 2 races. I also did a bit of time trial as well. Now, we're starting at the back in this one. Let's see how it handles itself. You know, this is both a fuel race and a tire race, okay? So in terms of fuel, you might want to save a little bit, or you can go flat out. Tires, obviously, significant factor here as we go through that chicane for the first time of 13 times of asking. Now, we're actually staying with the group at the moment. You're not seeing any real difference in terms of speed then as we head down towards the hairpin. And as we get down here, obviously, you know, it gets a bit crazy down here on lap 1. We saw that in the weekly race guide, which you can see where I drove manual. Now, this corner is second gear in automatic, which is an interesting choice by the game. I wasn't too sure about it, to be honest. If we look down the inside of the French driver, not going to quite work here, so we completely back out of that. We've got a BMW with loader there into the realms as we go through the left-hand side. Now, Robert just goes off here. I try and take avoiding action, and then I have to try and catch the car. Now, this is the first thing I'm going to say with the difference between automatic and manual, is that the automatic literally is much harder to control, I feel, than manual when it starts losing it. It could have just been a placebo effect, I'm not too sure, but that's what it felt like anyway. So we've advanced further along as we've looked to catch up again, and the French driver now, oh, hey, we looked, calm, Tidge, calm, and we caught it as well there, so down to P14, but again, this gap to that group. So we advance further on. Another yellow flag, of course. It's Dragon Trail Gardens. There's always going to be yellow flags here. And up another place, a shock has been off there in the Nissan GTR Nismo. Up to P13. You're not really seeing us race at the moment, are you, as we head down towards the hairpin? But we are going to start racing very soon, as we see Stevie there with a 5-second penalty. I assume they had something to do with shock there, although I'm not too sure as we go into this left-hander, and through we go. Let's advance to some racing action now, okay? Because that's what you want to see. What is the true difference here between automatic and manual? So heading towards turn 1 then, and we are on the harder tyres as well, of course. No real difference there between the guys ahead and myself, really, as we head in towards the chicane then, braking late on the brakes. Obviously, the game's controlling the gear changes there, so we have to really control slowing down the car with the brakes, and you'll see that a bit later on as well in terms of this race and the next one, that we do go for some moves, some late braking moves, and we'll see how they end up later on. So heading down towards the hairpin then, we've got Turkish driver JDS MXX. I got that slightly wrong, apologies. But oh, the German went for a dive down the inside, punted another German. We're on the outside, and then Zorka comes back on as well. Beautiful racing from the Turkish driver there to avoid all that incident as well, and gave me room as well. So shout out to you, JD. That is, yeah, brilliant racing as we go on the outside of Zorkan. Again, some brilliant racing here with Zorkan in that Nissan GTR. And yeah, through up into P9. So you are seeing us race still in automatic. So, you know, you initially may discount it very quickly, but don't discount it. It's not too bad in the grand scheme of it, okay? You're allowing the game to decide. You can concentrate fully on driving. And I'll get onto that a little bit later on. As you see, we've got a run now on the AMG Mercedes then. Down the inside we go as we head towards the braking zone. We brake where we normally do, and the car does stop. They try to go around the outside. Very hard to do here on this corner, just with the way it is as we leave that corner then. Up into P8 by lap 4, started in P16, and we had those 2 little issues earlier on as well where we dropped back significantly. So we're not doing too shabby here at all. Not too shabby. As we head in towards turn 1 then, we keep that position of P8 as we go through that corner. So in terms of tyre wear didn't seem significantly different from what I can tell here. Looks about the same as the weekly race guide. So everything looking okay really for automatic. It's not too bad in the grand scheme of it. So if you do race in automatic, don't feel too bad. I mean, I've seen comments where people say, oh, it's a second slower, it's 2 seconds slower. It really isn't 2 seconds slower. I'm sorry, I don't know who thinks that, but it really isn't. That's just driving standards and driving skill, which is making all the difference there. So we've got Hollywood here. I'm not sure they're a part of Hollywood, or it's the German version of Hollywood there. And we're going to go down the inside. They've binned it, got a penalty for binning it. And we're up into P7. So we're seeing that. Oh, almost famous position of P6 up ahead, the cursed position that, of course, Super GT sort of brought to everybody's attention by always finishing in it. So, we advance towards the pits then. Obviously, there's been a few pit stops here, there, and everywhere. And we're on the hard tire. You can see we're down on fuel. This is critical, okay? So, we're down on fuel. We need a little bit more, on 42%. And critically, the pit stop there, 5.989 seconds. That is how long it took, according to the game, in terms of the pit stop. So, we'll look at that in the next race. Sorry, I was about to cough then. In terms of the difference when we try and save fuel, because that's what we're going to do in the next race. We haven't saved fuel here. So, 42% there, and we're literally 5.9 seconds. Now, we're right in the thick of the action here. Green Blood was on the mediums and then went to the hard tyre. Carlsberg up ahead was also on the hard tyre and went to the mediums, a bit like myself. Obviously, I've got onto the mediums as well as they're looking down the inside of Green Blood. Not going to quite work here. Green Blood actually said hello in the lobby, so yeah, shout out to you. Also, so did Fatalist Chris, who's up ahead as well, so shout out to you as well. Right, we'll leave that corner. We get a bit of a run here on the German driver, who's also got a run on the Brit, so I'm sort of keeping my nose here on the left-hand side. Now, they back off a little bit here. Does the German driver think, excellent, I've got this. They expected me to really launch it into the corner. Unfortunately, I didn't. I sort of kept it on the inside there in case I wanted to go around the outside. So a bit of unfortunate contact there, but, you know, there was nothing bad about that. It's just two people thinking different things. Now, looking to get a good runner here on Green Blood, and this is what I aim to do, okay? I know I can't really use the gears to my advantage to rotate the car or engine braking as much. So I'm using my lines instead. Using my lines to get better exits where I need to go, and then I don't have to focus on the gears. So up into P5 then, and that's not too shabby from the back of the grid. I do say so myself. And we're actually going to advance a bit later on then to lap 13, where we look at the French driver up ahead. Now, we've been catching everybody up ahead quite significantly, actually. And you can see I'm saving a bit of fuel here. So the calculation that the game gave me is a little bit incorrect with the auto transmission as we come through this left-hander then. Because literally it's just dropped just under that one lap. I think it was 0.8 when I crossed the line. So I was just saving a teeny tiny bit here as we head down towards the hairpin. But when it moves on, as I go for the last of the late breakers here. And you can see I can't use the engine braking. I would be in first gear at this point if it was my choice. But the game keeps me in second gear, which is interesting. However, it still works out. We still stop the car and we continue on. Now, you could argue that me not shifting down to first and the game keeping me in second actually solves a bit of the weight transfer issue under braking and therefore improves my braking efficiency. Therefore, you would stay in second when you do it on manual. But even so, we come across in P4 then, just running out on the line there, and we do manage to have enough fuel. But an interesting race there, okay? Obviously, we did have to fill up. The game misjudged it slightly, and there's a couple of corners and overtakes where I wanted to be in a different gear and couldn't. But in the grand scheme of it, that's not too shabby at all, really, I would say, because we've come home in P4, and we did get a good race with a lot of people. This is my time trial lap. I obviously had 5 minutes between races, so I thought, okay, let's give it a go here. Let's come in here. We've got the Ghost to follow as well, and you can see through this left-hander, there's no real difference between the Ghost and myself. Automatic is not that bad, okay? If you use automatic, and this is the point of this video, you know, you can challenge me to do this. I'm happy to take any challenges in how to drive, etc., if you want me to drive in a certain way. And we're not doing too bad versus Ghost. Remember, that is the meta car in time trial. The 911 is not. I think the quickest 911 is about 4 attempts off that. So, you know, we're not doing too shabby at all. And remember, this is quick jump in and go as well. There's plenty of time in this lap, even from the bit that you've already seen. As we leave that corner, you can see we're just down a little bit. And that is critical there. Remember I talked about first gear. You can see how much time we lost there in terms of my delta. That's because I was bogged down a bit too much. And that's where first gear would have come into well, it'd have played really nicely there, to be honest, at the hairpin. So it's those kind of things. So when you are using automatic, okay, you need to think about wider lines to really carry the momentum so the car doesn't bog down. It's basically adjusting your driving style. Don't keep to the same driving style that you'd use on manual. Let's say you see me do a line and you go, oh, my car's so much slower on automatic. Adjust it slightly. You can still go very, very quickly in automatic. As you see here, I've done one lap. I'm about to finish this second lap. As we come through this last corner, again, a little bit of bogging down. Nothing huge there, though, especially compared to the hairpin. We're going to get towards the line, and we're going to see what kind of lap time this is then. As we get to that line, then, it's a 1:29.9. I would argue a 1:28 is possible in automatic. If I put some time and effort in, I guarantee I could get a 1:28 in automatic. It really isn't that bad. You may lose a tenth or two. It's nothing massive, okay? And it allows any, lower skill drivers to concentrate on their driving, because in reality, if you're DR A, B, C, D, E, the further down you go, you need to concentrate more on driving, your braking, accelerating, and steering, rather than changing gears. Changing gears is the least of your problems, so get rid of it. It's probably causing you major problems. So get rid of it and try automatic and just focus on that driving. It may help you actually improve in terms of driving and racing in your racecraft as well, because you're not thinking about something. Now, you notice here we started in P4, but I chose to race in hard tyres, and this time we are going to save fuel. So we're going to see the real issue, in my opinion, with automatic in terms of fuel saving now. You can see we're using the fuel map, which we know from a previous video that I've done in terms of the driving school as well. I believe I did it in there, that fuel maps are just not that good compared to short shifting. Short shifting is so much better than the fuel maps because it's compromising the engine so much. So I got the fuel map 6 here. Chris is going for the move down the inside. It's a perfectly good move. Very well played there, Chris. And that's just to let Chris go and not lose that much time. I know most of these guys up here are going to be on the medium tyre. So I'm on the hard tyre. I'm just trying to keep up where I can and save fuel where I can, because if I can save fuel, I can make sure I get to the end of the race. I am not refilling in this race, okay? Irrespective of how much fuel I need or not. Remember, it's 42%. And it was 5.989 seconds, I think it was. And Chris just loses the rear end there. Heading down towards this right-hander. Then we've got the Polish driver behind me who is really pushing on here. And he just accelerates a bit too early. Pushes me really out wide. Big push to pass there. I wasn't too happy with that. I do flash my lights here a little bit because it's like, come on, you can't really do that. Yes, you've got the better tyre, but you've got to go for a clean move, especially as you ran out wide in the end of that overtake in the middle of the corner. If I was still there, that would have been me off. So you do really have to, you know, bring it back a little bit. If someone's on a different tyre, think about where you can overtake. I showed that earlier on versus Green Blood, where I went for a better exit out of the corner, and it was a significant advantage. So obviously the Polish and German driver up ahead going to be racing hard here. Them on the medium tyres. Me the lead hard tyre runner, I believe. As we go through this left-hander, Chris gets it slightly wrong, and there may have been contact there. I'm not too sure. Chris goes defensive, and the Polish driver just hits Chris there. Pushes him out wide. Again, another push to pass. You can't do that, Camilos. You can't do that at all. You really need to bring it back a little bit. If you do that, you need to bring it back, give Chris the position back, and then continue on racing and go for a fair move. Right, here we go then. We've got Stevie up ahead. Obviously, the others have been in the pits already as we head down towards this hairpin. And we're going to go for the last of the late breakers. Again, once again, you're seeing that I'm having to brake later. And you're going to hear the car bogging down slowly, slowly, slowly. Then it goes. This is where first gear would be so good. And obviously, this is where automatic's a bit of a disadvantage. But again, if you're down in DRE, for example, and no disrespect. Oh, that was close behind with the GTR. My word. But get back to it. If you are down in DRE, don't worry about gears. What I would recommend actually is go back to automatic and really focus on your braking and accelerating, because you're losing so much time because of it. Now, we're on 46%. It was 42% last time. And we've, well, it's 2 seconds quicker in the pit stops there. Now, if you remember, we filled to 50 and we still didn't have enough at the end. So we're in a bit of an issue here in terms of fuel. So we are going to be fuel saving quite a lot. Now, is 2 seconds really worth it in this particular race? No, I would argue not, because we should be in the low 30s. We did get a 30.3, I think it was. You can get in the 29s in automatic in a race as well. So definitely not. And you see we're in P3 here. We have caught up to the Spaniard, who stayed out for quite a while on the medium tyres, if I'm honest. I actually thought they were on hards because they stayed out an extra lap longer than me as we come through this left-hander. And you're seeing the fuel issue here. So I go to 1 occasionally in the accelerating zones because I want the maximum power of the engine to really push on. And then as I get towards the top end, it's when I start knocking down the engine map there to 2 and sometimes 3. But we do need to save some fuel. You can see my fastest lap at 31.1. Bear in mind, that's like, what, 8-9 tenths off my PB in the previous race. So it is significant in terms of fuel map. So automatic, the biggest weakness of it is not speed, it is fuel saving. Fuel saving, it is a significant issue. However, again, and I've said this already, if you're... Oh, actually, we're going to go for a move here down the inside there in towards the quadruple apex corner. Very iffy to do this, but we make it work, me and Araka. Fair play to you, Araka. I know that got a bit clunky is probably the best word, but it was a fair move, and yeah, very well played. But just getting back to DRE, DRD, you know, as you go up the ranks, even DRA, you know, if you're really struggling with some of the driving lines, the braking zones, accelerating zones, it may be worthwhile just looking at automatic, re-evaluating your driving, really getting the lines right, and then going back to manual. An automatic could give you some insight. We've seen at the hairpin, for example, yes, second gear is boggy, but my word, does second gear grip? And you want all the grip, don't you? You really do. Now, we are seeing the fuel really becoming an issue here. I was at fuel map 5 there. I didn't want to go for the move into the last corner, so it's a case of extra saving there because we can. The other fuel saving method, of course, I could use in this scenario is lift and coast. But the biggest fuel saving in this game is short shifting. It's massive. You don't lose that much time and you still save a ton of fuel. Obviously, fuel really on the RPMs in terms of what it does. Down the inside of P1 we go then, and once again we raced the French driver earlier on. We know how clean they are, so a shout out to you, Rapide here. But yes, we're up into P1, and we really do have to save that fuel as we go through the right-hander and then the left, and we continue on out of there. 1.7 laps of fuel remaining, and as we get towards the end of the race, we're on 0%. We do make it in the end, a couple of fuel map 4 moments in there as well. But yes, fuel saving is something I wouldn't do with automatic. But in terms of racing, just sprint races and just going for it, automatic, there is no real issues there. Occasionally you're bogged down where you really want another gear, but for the most part, it's just like racing normally. You just have to adjust your lines slightly, maybe your braking slightly, but automatic is still very much good and very much there for you to use if you need it. And as I said earlier, if you're DRE, DRD, DRC, DRB, even DRA, and you are struggling with racing lines, braking, accelerating, get rid of the gear problem. Forget about gears, concentrate on steering and doing one less input, and it will help you. The less inputs you do, the more consistent you can become, and the better you can become in terms of racing and doing time trial laps and all that good stuff. So, there you have it. I took the challenge, manual versus automatic. I think I achieved a good result there by getting P1 for TCR. That is it for me now, folks. I do hope you enjoyed it. 2 videos there to check out, including the manual versus automatic video. But that is it for me, folks. Give it a like on the way out, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream very soon.